A few kilometers from industrial Lviv, where life pulsates and technology reigns, there are unique places, mysterious and breathtaking. A natural forest going back centuries. Under its cover, in a north-westerly direction, extends Roztochya in the form of a hilly ridge. It rises above the neighboring plains. The view from above the forest is like that of a mosaic. Large crowns and gaps between them stand out. This is one of the signs of respectable old age and forest life without intrusion from man. Even trees, felled by time and wind, are not cut down and taken away, leaving them in the grip of nature. As in any nature reserve, a person does not disturb the passage of life. Here, this unique virgin forest, spanning an area of more than 2,000 hectares, has since 1984 been patronized by the Roztochya Nature Reserve. Roztochya is on the border of the range of such forest-forming species as pine, rock oak and beech. Only here the species grow in the same forest stand. Roztochya is interesting because of its forests. It's amazing. We can see all these tree species in one forest. Mountain beech is adjacent to pine, oak, which grow on the plains. Neither in Europe nor in any other part of the world can you find such a rare mix. Although each of these trees has its own habitat requirements. Oaks prefer rich, fertile Chernozem soils. Pine grows on sand, while beech loves mountains. But these breeds coexist peacefully in Roztochya.
І унікальність Розточя, так як головний європейський вододіл, він свій час сунув у льодовик і так підібрав.
The main European watershed at one time shifted the glacier and selected the soils that coniferous and deciduous trees grow and now provide good growth.
Дерева шпилькових порід і листяних.
Although this is contrary to forestry science, such a neighborhood is of a scientific interest in the area of forest research.
Власне, це представляє певний науковий інтерес в частині ведення лісових досліджень.
During the glaciation era, when Roztochya meltwater flowed down the slopes, leaving sand deposits behind, thus carbonate, podzolic soils were significantly diluted with sand. So, in addition to hardwood preferring enriched soils, unpretentious conifers appeared. Here's a typical boreal vegetation found in pine forests. Blueberries, lingonberries, heather, green mosses. This is a place that's characteristic of Polessia. But our conditions are better for pine, and so its market value is higher. An experimental area of common pine was planted in Soviet times. 34 of its climatic types, reflecting the geography of the entire post-Soviet space, took root and settled here. The undergrowth is well developed under a canopy of slender, prickly beauties 30 meters in height. Bushes of bright mountain ash, hazel and euonymus stand adjacent to growing beeches and oaks. Although the mighty giants don't feel as comfortable here as in the Chernobyl region. The local podzolic soils cannot be the best alternative to the black fertile earth that is so habitual for oak. Oak is a very demanding type of tree. It still has lower immunity and commercial qualities. The conditions for it are very good, but not ideal. In Roztochya, the rock oak took better root.
Але от на Розточі є межа його суцільного ареалу, і тут він утворює з дубом звичайним, із сосною дуже цікаві ліси, цікаві угруповання.
In the forest of Roztochya, centuries-old oaks don't have white trunks and the spreading crown that is characteristic of them. Their silhouettes differ little next to 300-year-old beech trees, although the beeches also differ from those that live in the usual mountains terrain. This unique species of tree, which prefers a mild climate, grows only in Europe. In Belarus and Russia, beech doesn't even grow in botanical gardens. The northeastern border of its range passes through Roztochya in western Ukraine and does not go any further. Here the conditions are worse than, for example, in the Carpathian Mountains. That is why the consequences of windbreaks and hurricanes in these forests are much worse. In Roztochya, the underlying limestone rock, so necessary for the life of beech trees, lies too high. And so the tree's root system is not developed, but is quite superficial. It's not even easy for a mighty tree with a solid trunk and a strong crown to stand under a strong wind and the more so a hurricane. Due to the climate change that has taken hold of the planet, windbreaks, windfalls and hurricanes are occurring more often and trees are suffering as a result. Natural beech forests are being destroyed, but this is a natural process. This is self-regulation in the ecosystem, and these beech forests belong to quite stable groups. They reproduce themselves, and such windfalls are not terrible. A new one will grow in the place of this tree. The beech forest looks like a big family. There are important elders, parent trees, young people and young growth. Such forests of various ages are well restored. They are stable and hardy. Thus the shadow under the parental crowns doesn't stop the young generation of beech trees from developing, but other vegetation rarely survives in such conditions. The location of beech leaves doesn't allow sunlight to penetrate the soil. It would seem to be a negative fact, but it's precisely this feature that can become the planet's salvation in conditions of global warming. The temperature map shows how much beech trees cool the Earth's surface. The temperature above the beech forest or over the glades differs by 7 degrees. In beech forests, it is 7 degrees cooler than in other places. This is one of the reasons for the need to protect beech forests. They cool the planet. It's a kind of refrigerator. These dark blue spots are beech forests.
Ці темно-сині плями – це є все букові ліси. От ми, зрештою, у цій точці.
Beech wood, as a cooler, softens the microclimate, and in conditions of global warming it could save the planet from overheating. It was no accident that UNESCO declared beech forests part of World Natural Heritage. Once upon a time, beech gave us the first alphabet and book. Its smooth bark was used instead of papyrus. The not-swelling, moisture-resistant beech wood proved to be indispensable in the making of wheels for watermills. And musical instruments made out of beech produce high-quality sound. But man did not reckon with the value of this wood. He began to exterminate beech plantations, freeing fertile soil for agriculture. People destroyed a valuable beech in order to get charcoal without worrying about restoring beech forests. In the 18th, 19th centuries, when they began to practice forestry, preference was given to pine and oak, as they were considered to be the best building material. And beech forests continued to be destroyed catastrophically. As a result, only those that grew high in the Carpathian Mountains or on the hills of Roztochya survived. Beech trees weren't cut down here. It was very difficult to get equipment to this place and remove the wood.
Приїжджають до нас гості, науковці з
Scientists from different countries visit us:
Польща,
Poland, Germany, Austria, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, the United States.
Сполучені Штати. Значить, всі цікавляться, всіх дивує.
Everyone is surprised that beautiful forests have been preserved near such an industrialized city as Lviv.
Промислово розвинутого міста, як Львів, збереглись прекрасні ліси.
Local forests were under special protection long before the reserve appeared. And the economy was conducted in line with science, in compliance with all requirements. Trees were not cut down at the root and forest crops were planted in the soil and topography. Until 1939, the lands of the reserve belonged to the family of Account, where it was not only possible to cut down trees, but also to collect branches for firewood only on certain days. An ordinary man could not go into the land, pick mushrooms and berries, and harvest firewood. Landowners only allowed them to come and collect dry brushwood twice a month. These forests were protected. They were not destroyed by man and were rather well preserved. Therefore, they became part of UNESCO heritage. This magnificent tree has been preserved since those times. This linden tree is already about 250 years old. Its trunk is so wide that several people can grasp it if they hold hands. It was most likely planted by one of the foresters who was looking after the Count's forest. Judging by the broadly spreading crown and low-growing branches, the tree developed in the open.
Ми бачимо її розмах крони такий, не такий, як у нас ми звикли в лісі.
We see its spreading crown, setting it apart from the trees in the forest. These are tall trunks as a rule. Their crown begins at a height of 15-20 meters and more, and the first branch appeared here at a height of 70 meters above ground level.
Ну і оце все свідчить про те, що вона виросла на просторі свого часу.
The Latin name of the tree is Tilia cordata, like cardiology, obviously because of the heart-shaped leaf. Due to the stickiness of the buds, leaves and shoots, people called the tree linden. Nevertheless, the honey that is gathered from the nectar of flowering linden is the most genuine.
Якщо при сприятливих погодних
If the trees reach such sizes under such conditions, then a bee family can take 5 kilograms of honey a day from such a tree, and up to 50 kilograms per flowering season.
До 50 кілограм меду.
One tree produces as much honey as a hectare of buckwheat.
Стільки ж меду, як 1 гектар гречки.
An old linden leaning on a bent branch like a hockey stick, as if carrying a guard. It opens the passage of the Holy of Holies of the reserve only for the elite. Centuries-old natural forests have since recent times been protected by UNESCO as part of World Natural Heritage. These lands are not accessible for mass visits, especially by car. The security service and the reserve scientists overcome kilometers of forest roads only by horse. The location of valuable centuries-old forest begins 50 meters from the road. International regulations provide for a buffer zone. The forest is sometimes so thick and impassable that you can get lost even if you're close to the road. Trees felled by time and wind are not removed, and human intervention, even with good intentions, is excluded. This old forest is still capable of continuous renewal. Even with such windbreaks, when dozens, hundreds of trees die in wintertime, their change will grow and get stronger over time. Such dead wood from decaying wood is also an important part of the forest. A haven for many microorganisms, fungi and insects. Therefore, such natural oases are only supported and observed without any interference in the process. This is a natural phenomenon and they are treated with special care. There isn't much preserved wild natural forest. Among them are beech old-timers from Roztochya, the only natural wealth in Ukraine to have been declared part of World Heritage by UNESCO and included in the World Network of Biosphere Reserves. These rare centuries-old forests are in a special position. Only the workers of the Roztochya Reserve observe, study and protect them. These places are not even accessible to the local population. Berries and other edible items in the forest replenish the diet exclusively of forest residents. These valuable, pristine forests are left to nature and live by its laws without interference from humans. Otherwise, the losses would be irreparable. If beech forests were to disappear, there'd be no hope of return.